Honorable Men Discord. Let's talk about the roast of Kevin Hart. Let's talk about it.
How you see yourself is how you perceived. I see a man strong, gifted, head strapping, never down on his knees, begging. Gotta make a way, even in my darkest hour. Say the odds against me was new. I would never cower.
As always, welcome back to another episode. If you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Tell a friend to tell a friend. I drop episodes daily at 5 p.m. Eastern time. So I'm going to go straight into it. Let me first go over the cast that was a part of this Netflix presentation, the roast of Kevin Hart. All right. And I'm going to just briefly go over my thoughts on the cast members' comedy and how good it was. All right. And I only saw it once. So bear in mind, I only saw it once. So don't hold me to whether or not I was accurate on their comedy or what was said. I'm going to paraphrase from time to time. Okay. So with that being said, the host, Shane Gillis, I thought he did a good job. He did a solid job. The one thing that stood out for me, by the way, somewhat of a spoiler if you didn't see it. All right. So if you have not seen it yet, you could just turn this episode off. I don't want to spoil it for you. But for those of you that saw it, if you saw it more than once, then you know it more accurately than me, because I only saw it one time. That's all I planned to see it for, because it was fairly long. If I do go back to see it again, it would be just to watch the portion where Cat Williams came out. But with that being said, let me just go through this again. So the host, Shane Gillis, I thought he was solid. What stood out for me that I liked what he did was in the beginning, when the audience sort of was real stiff at sort of some of the jokes that he was making, where they didn't react the way he wanted. I like how he called them out. And he said, listen, this is for those in the bleachers, for the upper deck, you know? I thought that was smooth, and I like the way he handled that. Because truth being told, if you pay to go to a comedy show and you're all uptight, I think that's lame, to be honest with you. So I like the way he handled and conducted himself throughout. I thought he is definitely a polished comedian, in my opinion. Now, I don't know if anyone liked him also, but I thought Shane Gillis as a host was solid. Had no complaints with that. Now, Tom Brady coming out. Allegedly, Tom Brady was upset by his roast. That's what's, that when I put this together, they were saying how Tom Brady, some of the jokes he didn't like, and he was actually upset. So Tom Brady coming out was really more about get back. And given the fact that throughout his career in the NFL, I didn't know too much about Tom Brady. I didn't know him personally, his personality. I just knew he was one of the great quarterbacks, if not one of the greatest quarterbacks, except for when he clashed with my Giants. But that's another story. Tom Brady, he did a good job, considering he's an athlete, not a comedian. And I know his jokes were written for him, but he handled it well. I thought he did a solid job. I wasn't blown away by it, but I thought he did a solid job. The Rock was cool, but The Rock to me came off more as a friend having a ball, enjoying the opportunity to clown his friend live in front of an audience. It wasn't spectacular. It wasn't horrible. Some of the stuff was the type of humor that I'm not a fan of. When he was asking Cat Williams to sit on his knee, I didn't like that. And I personally don't like the jokes towards Kevin Hart's wife. Now, Kevin Hart, he's a comedian. I don't know how strong of a friendship he has with The Rock, but I just don't like those type of jokes. That's just me personally. Because Dwayne, I mean, he leaned in a lot on the jokes towards Kevin Hart's wife, and I didn't like that. Jeff Ross, nothing to say bad about Jeff Ross. He is a veteran. He's always hilarious. To me, every time I've caught the roast and he was involved in it, he was phenomenal. He's a true professional. If you want to say something about his outfit, he made that clear. He was doing that as sort of like a tribute to Eddie Murphy. I think Eddie Murphy wore leather in Raw, and so that was like his Eddie Murphy outfit. Say what you want to say. That guy, he is top notch. You got to salute that man. I have nothing bad to say about him. Chelsea Handler, predictable. I wasn't impressed by what she had to say. It was predictable. Lizzo, she did okay. I didn't like the I want to say this politically correct. I didn't like the short people coming out. I don't like those type of plays. Those I hope I used the right term. But yeah, I didn't like that whole thing that when they came out, it sort of reminded me of Willy Wonka. And when I was younger, that type of stuff was funny, but I didn't see the humor in that at all. I didn't see it. Pete Davidson, he was mediocre. I wasn't that impressed by him. I never thought he was a hilarious person. Even in that recent movie that he did with Eddie Murphy, I thought it was just okay. It wasn't horrible, but it was just okay. It wasn't nothing that I was going to tell someone, oh, you got to see that movie. All right. Naeem Lynn, I do not remember. I can't recall that. Draymond Green is what you expect from, again, an athlete who's given comedy to speak, to say. He's not a comic, so it was just okay. Big J Okerson, I don't remember that. Tony, I remember because of his name Tony, and I've seen the Kill Tony, some of the Kill Tony presentations. Tony was all right, although he's getting a lot of flack for the George Floyd joke, which my thought on that is I'm kind of 50-50 on it, because at the end of the day, there were a bunch of people making jokes about can't think of the name, Charlie Kirk. There are a bunch of people making jokes about Charlie Kirk, so it's all fair game in comedy at the end of the day. You know, there was a lot of some of them wasn't even, some of those things that were remarks that were made about Charlie Kirk weren't even jokes. People were actually happy and celebrating the fact that he went out the way he went out on live television. And say what you want to say about it, it's fair game at that point. You know, although one will say one was the same race, took out another member of that race, where this, when you're talking about George Floyd, you're talking about it's been deemed a race issue because it was a white male cop with his knee on a black perp. But with that being said, again, both men were made fun of in the public to some degree. All right, whether it be social media, whether it be in stand-up skits. So as far as Tony mentioning that, I don't know what to say about that. There's a lot of people who looked at these things with a microscope, and it's just one of those things where it's like, if you start to overanalyze comedy and put restrictions on it, then why do it? You know, I don't know. I don't like to put restrictions on comedy, because then it dilutes it. It takes away the freedom of the comic to express themselves, you know, and that's my thoughts on it. Sometimes it's gonna be the way that you like it, as far as the humor, and sometimes you're gonna find some things offensive. And to be honest with you, it's always objective. All right, which leads me to Cheryl Underwood. Why don't I see? All right, Cheryl Underwood. Regina Hall, wasn't that impressed by Regina Hall. By the way, Tiana Teller was horrible, and I liked one of her older albums. You know, I like her as an artist. As an actress, I think she's mediocre. I'm not hating on her. I think she's a mediocre actress. But what she did out there was horrible. It wasn't good. And if you think it was good, I'll see you in the comment section. Explain to me why you thought it was good. But I think out of everyone that went up to the podium, she was the worst. She was the worst. But Cheryl Underwood, I put her in the bracket with I put her in the same bracket as Jeff Ross. They're top notch. All right, Cheryl Underwood, I would say, is from the same cloth as like a Bernie Mac. Like she's hilarious. She's the truth. Say I put her in the same category also as Cat Williams. She is the truth. She's gonna go out there and deliver, which she did. Now, one thing I have to say about the comedy that was made towards her about her late husband that committed suicide is, again, it's objective. Right? If she was able to, after the fact, speak on it, I think she spoke on it to TMZ, if I'm not mistaken, and she explained that she's X amount of years removed from that horrific moment where her husband took his life, and she said it's part of comedy. That's the essence of a roast. So if she herself, who was the actual mate, a partner of her husband, and she's not offended by it, then why should we? I think once she speaks on it, I think that's case closed at that point. There's no reason to even run with, oh, how could they talk about her husband like that? Hey, if his wife is allowing it and accepting it for what it is and for it being comedy, then who are we to say anything about it? Now, with that being said, I have some things queued up. I'm going to play them. This is just a clip from it. To be honest with you, Cat Williams looked like he wanted to say what he had to say and get the hell off the stage. I don't think not one part of what Cat Williams had to say was a joke. Yes, he's a comedian, so he's gonna make people laugh, but I think he meant everything. That's my take on it. I think he meant everything that he said, and I think to save face, had Kevin Hart not jumped up and said all the things he said about an olive branch, which you see here, and offering an olive branch of peace, Kevin Hart did that to smoothen things out before allowing Cat Williams to exit the stage. All right. Now, Cat Williams, being a grown man, I think also played to it because he did all these things. As you can see in the photo, he's like he's giving him the open hand, like, ladies and gentlemen, there's Kevin Hart. He was just being a sport about it. But he absolutely looked like he was ready to run off the stage after he said what he had to say. And for that reason, I think he wasn't joking. All right. Now, he gave him a bow, and that's just him being a gentleman again, because how much of a a-hole would he have looked like with Kevin Hart in front of everyone saying, I want to extend the olive branch. Kevin Hart even went as far as saying, I want us to, be brothers or be good. Kevin Hart, he doubled and tripled down on that olive branch gesture and trying to just smooth things out and just, not have any beef. So at that point, Cat Williams, regardless of how he truly feels about Kevin Hart, shook his hand, used both hands, and kind of bowed. All right. So I don't see anything wrong with that. All right. Now, this is Kevin Hart speaking on the whole his reaction to people thinking like, oh, maybe Cat Williams went too hard with the jokes. He didn't have to, say the things that he said. And this is Kevin Hart reacting to it, and this is his thoughts on it. So let's get into that.
Holy shit, Cat Williams, insane. The shock factor of Cat being there, Cat's set was insane. There's no emotions attached to a roast. You get up there, you tell your jokes, and we understand that they're gonna come with some heat, but that's what a roast is supposed to be. You can't have emotions. You gotta understand what the assignment is, man. Everybody came out there and did their thing. To all the fans that just understand and appreciate what a roast is supposed to be. You got that. Got that yesterday. No emotion. No emotion, no feelings, man. It's not what a roast is about. Leave the emotions and the feelings at the front door. People are coming in and they're looking for the shock factor. They're looking for the crazy reaction about the hard-hitting joke. Let them fly. It's all in the efforts of being funny. Holy shit, Cat.
Yep. Again, if he's not bothered by it, then why should we? It's all objective at the end of the day. Now, here's a gentleman. These are reactions to the entire Netflix presentation, the roast. I'm going to play each one of them, and then for each one of them, I'm going to give my reaction. So let's get into it.
Of Kevin Hart was not a comedy show, but it was something more sinister. These people get together. It's like legions of demons in one setting. A lot of y'all missed the trailer for this. I missed it as well, but I recently ran across it. The trailer told us everything that we needed to know. The trailer says the roast of Kevin Hart, and it said, let it burn. Kevin Hart in the trailer walked up to what was supposed to be a lookalike of him, or a clone, or a wax figure. What did he do? He set it on fire and said, burn. Kevin Hart is standing up on a stool, and it's fire beneath him. These people put this stuff right in our face. They put it right in our face. And this stuff is not just comedy shows, because nothing about what they be talking about is even funny. But they putting the truth in plain sight, and they trying to disguise it as a joke. Look at the stuff that they think is funny. They laughing, but the jokes were not funny. They weren't even jokes. But this is the type of stuff that demons find funny. Satan would find someone being harmed funny. Someone being humiliated, he would think that would be funny. Demons don't have the same sense of humor as God. Demons don't have the same sense of humor as children of God. It was nothing funny about the roast of Kevin Hart. I didn't watch it, but the clips I've seen, there was nothing funny about it. The jokes that were made by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson were disturbing. There was nothing funny about it. It was an abomination. It goes against the word of God. Misleading for children. That's why children believe saying stuff like this is funny, and it's just joking, but it's not. There's nothing funny about that. Look at what Cat Williams had on. Look at what this man had on. Look at the imagery in the back. What is that? Is that supposed to be a goat? Is it supposed to be Baphomet? Is it supposed to be a representation of a calf? Either way, no matter which one of those it was supposed to be a representation of, it is demonic. The people that are there speaks volumes, but if those people don't repent, all of them will burn. Not just Kevin Hart. Don't be deceived. I love y'all. God bless y'all. All glory to God. And y'all already know, Jesus Christ is Lord. Nothing about this was comedy. The roast of...
All right. Whilst I still have everything on my mind, I just want to address it. So, first of all, this wasn't something for children. All right. Now, I know some children are fans of The Rock when he was wrestling, but he's no longer wrestling to my knowledge. This particular presentation was for adults. All right. So there's no reason why kids are watching it. Unfortunately, unless the children that he's speaking about live in a household where the parents put the proper settings on the Netflix, then yes, the kids will probably tune in to hear what The Rock has to say. But that's a whole nother story that has to do with the household and how in tune the parents or guardians for that household is when it comes to the children in the house. Now, again, Jeff, the comic Jeff Wynn, the All Red, he explained that was sort of his rendition of Eddie Murphy's Raw. All right, so there's no symbolism in that. Now, here's the thing. The goat is just the images of the goat. You know, we can argue that maybe there was some symbolism in that, but he called himself the goat. They referenced that within the presentation. All right. They said it several times in the presentation. That's why the goat was there. It's a reference to Kevin Samuels, excuse me. Kevin Hart considering himself as the GOAT, which is why also when Cat Williams went to the podium, he also made like a mockery of that notion that Kevin Hart believes that he's a GOAT. So that's why the GOATs were up there. That there was no symbolism in that. As far as the wax figure, I did not see that I did not see that commercial with the wax figure burning, but it's called a roast. So he's roasting. He was just watching himself burn. Now I don't know if there's symbolism. Maybe would there still be symbolism if someone else burned the wax figure of him of Kevin Hart? Would there still be symbolism? Would you can still consider it symbolism if someone else had burned the wax figure of Kevin Hart? I don't know. But he wasn't on a stool. He was on a podium. All right. And if there's any symbolism that I could think of, I see it as he sees himself on a pedestal as one of the greats. He considers himself the GOAT. And by burning himself down, that's what the roast is. It's to tear him off that pedestal that he thinks he's on. That was a pedestal, not a stool. All right. Now, for those conspiracy theorists out there thinking that there's deeper meanings to this show, I mean, it's possible, but where does that stop? Where do we stop with the conspiracy theories? Because as a whole, I think I think Hollywood entertainment has deep layers of demonic representation and practices. Yes, I do believe they exist, but are we going to say every little thing that comes out has some type of needs to be dissected and broken down into it's demonic? And so if that is the case, all right, and I'm not saying that this gentleman is wrong, I just think it's a stretch. I personally believe it's a stretch. Is there a possibility? There's always a possibility. Anything involving Hollywood, anything involving profit, large profit, big money, all those people that were in that arena in LA, right? Which is the Lakers arena, if I'm not mistaken. Is a wealthy people, and with wealth also comes scandal. You could disagree with me on that. With the large amounts of wealth, there is scandal. If you think large amounts of wealth and there's no scandal, then I believe that's being naive. If you think large groups of people with an immense amount of wealth, if you believe that there's no scandal with that, I think you're naive. All right, I would think that you're naive. But again, where does it stop? And he said he did not see it. So how could you speak of something that you did not see? You're just going off of clips. You can't go off of just clips. It doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work like that. I saw the entire thing, and yes, The Rock's humor is not my type of humor. But again, this is the way I believe Rock communicates with Kevin Hart off camera. That's their relationship. They have a close friendship. That's their relationship, and he's also alluded to that, I believe, in that presentation. All right. And he also mentioned, if you again, you had to watch the whole thing. He mentioned he had a few drinks, and he drank when he was on the stage too. He poured some of his own brand liquor, I believe, that was on the table on the stage. So Rock was probably a little tipsy. All right. That added to the humor and the things that he was saying that came across as a little bit too much. All right. Let me go into this next clip.
You just saw it. Hey, I don't really get off into the whole ain't it Illuminati stuff, but making Kevin Hart sit there at his own roast and have Cat Williams dismantle him was a humiliation ritual if I have ever seen one. Like, I've never watched somebody fake laugh through getting annihilated. Like, Cat Williams didn't hold back any punches that whole roast. Like, you know that scene in Never Back Down where the main villain Ryan is beating up on Max, which is Evan Peters' character, to get Jake to come to the beatdown, and the dude that was watching them fight was like, Jesus, Ryan. That's how I felt the whole time Cat was talking. And that's how everybody else felt, because I'm looking at their faces and they laughing, but they like, woo. Humiliation ritual.
I 100% agree with this gentleman, and that was actually brilliant. Whoever was responsible for that, it was brilliant. When I put this together, before putting this together, I had seen something that said that Dave Chappelle was a part of them actually coming together on the stage. he made it happen behind the scenes. I don't know how true that is, but that's what I saw again before putting this together. But to be honest with you, the main reason why I even hit play on this whole roast was because I had seen clips of Cat Williams. So that's how I knew I wanted to watch it. For that reason, I said I have to hear what Cat Williams has to say, because I know how he has gone and sat down with Shannon Sharp and the things that he said in that viral interview that he had on Club Shay Shay. So for that reason alone, I tuned in. And I could have fast forwarded. I could have, but I was interested in seeing what was said all across the board. But yeah, Cat Williams delivered. He delivered. Do I think Kevin Hart was fake laughing? I don't know about that. Because Kevin Hart was laughing the same way with everyone. So I can't call that. So this is the final thing I have, and I'm definitely going to speak on this.
Needs to hear this, but it's all of them. Yes, even your precious Cat Williams. Just a giant Saturn cult. It's just blowing my mind and hurting my heart to see the amount of individuals posting online about Cat Williams and the roast of Kevin Hart, and how Cat Williams was not telling jokes. He was telling the truth. Yeah, telling the truth as a gatekeeper. Because if you don't think he's part of the club and the spell that they are casting over you is working, I understand to the general population they will not see the symbolism here, but the esoteric symbolism is pretty blatant. His hat sideways representing the rings of Saturn, for the background to be cycling cubes, which for those who know, the cube also represents Saturn. Saturn cube is a prominent occult and esoteric symbol, representing limitation, material reality, time, and karmic restriction. It symbolizes the transformation of the divine, fluid, and chaotic universe into a structured, box-like, three-dimensional existence. It is often associated with the Roman god Saturn. You don't say. You can go ahead and do your own research out there. This video is not going to be a deep dive, but just so you know, Saturn worship is the hidden god behind law, money, and power. This is why you will see the rings of Saturn symbolism everywhere. Not to mention the black cube that is found around the world. So of course, in my own personal opinion, I believe it is quite naive to not think that he is part of the club, especially for him to just be involved with this humiliation ritual against Kevin Hart, which these roasts of celebrities are humiliation rituals. Not to mention how Mr. Golden Dawn had his own roast or humiliation ritual, and this goes back again to the occult. Some of these key purposes of these humiliation rituals include initiation and loyalty, where in cults or occult groups these rituals increase loyalty by creating a cost to belonging, ensuring members are broken down and easier to control. Breaking the ego, some interpretations suggest humiliation rituals such as those discussed in the You Know What are meant to destroy ego-driven attachments to social status, forcing them to form a spiritual purification. Through this is often viewed as psychological trauma. Oh, how lovely. Or you have the kiss of shame, which in folklore and modern witchcraft studies, this represents a ritual where a new initiate or witch kisses the devil's you-know-what as a sign of submission. Jesus, please just come back. So yeah, I'm really sorry to burst your bubble if you thought that somehow he was not part of the club and that he was exposing the truth and he was there to be a right fighter. When in reality, from my own opinion, my own understanding, from what I am seen and what I have witnessed, it is pretty clear that he is a gatekeeper. He is allowed to share some truths to then gain people's trust, but in reality, he is just as controlled as the rest of them. Now, let me just make this very clear. It is my own opinion, my own personal take on the matter from what I have researched and what I have seen, and knowing or understanding the esoteric symbolism that you just can't ignore. That is actually how I came to the faith in Jesus, seeing the wickedness of the occult and the esoteric symbolism everywhere, understanding that symbols is a language that they use right in front of us to mock us, and they speak to one another through these symbols, and it goes over the heads of the general population. And that's why I just can't ignore the little hat sideways with looking like Saturn's rings, and then the cube behind him. And he was the only one with the cube, by the way, at least from what I've seen. I haven't watched the roast. I saw clips online, and again, it's just wretched, the jokes that they have on there, and that's part of the roast. But again, just understand that it's all controlled. If it's on TV, it's controlled. The club that you were not invited to is running these individuals like little puppets. And that's the name of the game, guys. So before you get all excited, thinking that he's exposing the truth and getting all worked up, that's what they want. They want you suckered in. They want you thinking that. And I cannot recommend enough to stop watching that stuff, or at least investing in it and thinking that someone's on your side. Truly, they are all against the Lord Most High. They are against Jesus Christ ultimately, and that is why I cannot recommend enough to just follow Jesus, trust upon him, rest in him, and pray for discernment, pray for wisdom, seek him above everything else, guys, and rest in his love, his grace, and his mercy. So, yeah, I love you guys all so much. God bless. Remember, the just shall live by faith. Not sure who needs to hear this, but it's all of them.
Okay. Again, I think it's possible that there is symbolism in this, but I'm gonna end with this. I'm not gonna say that what he just spoke on isn't a possibility, but I'll say this. Is it possible that Cat Williams is just being consistent with his outfits all throughout his career? Cat Williams had a career of presenting himself as though he was a pimp. All right? Which is why at the very end of this roast, Kevin Hart stood up and said a few... Kevin Hart couldn't help himself. He had to make sure he addressed Cat Williams because he knew what Cat Williams was doing. And Cat Williams knew what he was doing in the things that he said. So this is why Kevin Hart rebutted Cat Williams' jokes and said, listen, the reason why I got the gigs that I got is because they didn't want a pimp doing certain characters. Like I think Kevin Hart referenced some character that he did for like an animation film, and I forget what it is. Again, I only saw it once, so I'm just going off the top of my head. And Kevin Hart said, you think they want a pimp playing that particular animation character? You know, and again, is it possible that Cat Williams is just wearing the hat because his hairline is receding, which is why underneath the hat, which this gentleman is saying is a symbol of Saturn, underneath that hat is sort of like a head wrap. It's I don't know if it's a bandana or what he has underneath there, but his head is wrapped, and his head was also wrapped in the Club Shay Shay interview. His hairline is receding, and I'm not saying that to be funny. It's just a fact. If you ever caught any type of clip of Cat Williams when he actually has no hat on, you'll notice that his hairline is badly receding, and he has like dreads or something like that. So it just makes it even worse. And he's been wearing hats for a very long time to cover up the fact that his hairline is receding. For some reason, he's keeping the hair in the back of his head to, I guess, present the illusion that, his hair is healthy, but he's been losing his hair in the front. So that's why he's wearing a hat. He's wearing a formal tuxedo with a bow tie. He was not going to come out with this without something on top of his head. He could have came out with a wrap, but he wanted to be fancy and he put on a hat. He's worn hats before. Now, as far as the hat being to the side, I think it's just a testament of his age, and he's just trying to be stylish. I don't think it's that serious with Saturn. Now, as far as what he mentioned earlier on in the video about the symbolism in the other corporations, I think that's possible. I think it's all possible. Again, anywhere, whether it be entertainment, whether it be corporate, and there's a lot of money involved, and the individuals that are part of it are making a lot of money, there's going to be corruption, scandal, and yes, I think there's also rituals involved to be a part of it. But do I think, like some people have been alluding to online, do I think that Cat Williams is also part of it? I don't think so. And I'll say the reason why is because then I believe what you see from as an outsider is that most people that I believe are in it are given access, immense access. And I'm going to just give this example and I'm going to end this episode. Would I say Tiana Taylor is a part of something? Whatever the name is, we like to say Illuminati. I would say Tiana Taylor is, because she, out of nowhere, has been given access to star alongside someone who's I would say an A+ entertainer, actor, in Leonardo DiCaprio. There's no way anyone could tell me that she went up the ranks with her acting to be able to play alongside Leonardo DiCaprio. Something like that for me as an outsider, I automatically looked at that as like, what's going on over here? In addition to that, she's also, I want to say, picked up an award recently at the top of this year for acting, and I'm like, how? All right, and I'm not even talking about the Oscar. Before the Oscar, she got another award, and again, I'm just going off the top, so I don't remember the award she got. But I was looking at that like, how is she playing alongside as a lead? Even furthermore, with Leonardo DiCaprio, it doesn't make any sense. I don't see the talent there, and this is not a shot at Tiana Taylor. I just don't see the talent there. So for that reason, I look at things like that, and the reason why I'm bringing that up is because Cat Williams, you don't see him popping up everywhere with the elites. He does his own little specials. He sat down with Club Shay Shay, who was getting a lot of flack for his choices, when he was a commentator. But I don't see him popping up and doing things with the elites. And so for that reason, I don't see it as, he's a part of that club. Now, one might question it now that he actually took their money. So here's the thing that becomes confusing, where I can't debate in favor for Cat Williams. If you don't like that group of people, you get on certain interviews and you talk about that group of people, why are you accepting money from those people? That's the question I have for Cat Williams, and that's why he's allowed this gentleman to assume that his hat tilted is a representation of the Saturn, the Saturn god, or what he mentioned. Why are you accepting money? And he was very straightforward at the very beginning when he stepped up to the podium. You might be wondering why I'm here. He said, they paid me a lot. He's contradicting himself. It's either you stand firm in your convictions, like you don't want to be associated with that group of people, or you join them. And by accepting their money, you pretty much are joining them by accepting their money. You can't say, well, I took the money and I still don't want to have anything to do with them. Doesn't make sense. Where does that make sense? But again, I everything is objective as far as if you think that there's some type of dark underlying meaning behind the whole roast. And I know there was someone that this is another video I didn't queue up. I know there was someone who broke down the origin of roast, and they said it comes from a dark origin. Is that possible? It is possible. But is the average viewer looking at it because they want to be a part of some type of dark cult-like ritual? No, the average person is literally turning on their TV because they want to laugh. They're stressed out from their 9 to 5. They're stressed out from all their obligations, their bills. They just want to laugh. I know I watched it because I just wanted to laugh. I wanted to laugh at what Cat Williams had to say. But I just feel that some people are just taking time out to just dissect everything. It's like, all right, to be honest with you, the only way that you're going to survive this world and this earth is to just take off everything. Don't watch anything. Just read books. And even that could be corrupt because they're very intentional what they put in books for you to read. Who are the author of the books? So we can continue to go down the rabbit hole, then just don't do anything. Just pray and don't read anything. Don't read anything, because there's people that say, oh, how do you know that the Bible is, you could believe the Bible, what's written in the Bible. There's a new version, there's an Old Testament, there's a New Testament, and who wrote those? How do we know that throughout time it wasn't changed? I mean, there's different versions of the Bible. There's a King James, there's the what's the other one? There's a few versions. All right, I want to say there's the can't think of it right this moment, but there's other versions, interpretations of the Bible. So a lot of people say that within those interpretations things have been changed, wording has been changed. So how could there's going to be people that challenge that? So again, the reason why I'm saying that is the rabbit hole of what this whole roast was about. How deep are you willing to go, or are you willing to just watch it for the sake of I just want to laugh? I really don't want to think too deep into the box that's behind Cat Williams. Some people just want to laugh. But what's your thoughts on all this? What's your thoughts on what this last gentleman said? His name is Shepherd from Messiah. What's your thoughts on what the other people had to say? What's your thoughts on Kevin Hart and how he took the remarks of Cat Williams and he made sure he had a rebuttal? Do you think they really made amends, or do you think at some point in time, Cat Williams will resurface and say something bad about Kevin Hart? What's your thoughts on all this? Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? Let me know in the comment section. Listen, as always, I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Tell a friend to tell a friend. I drop episodes daily at 5 p.m. Eastern time. And as always, stay honorable.